My next guest was here with me on January the 6th. Here's what he had to say that night.
These terrorists, these treasonous bastards, could not stand the fact that we had a free and fair election. And people like Cruz, people like Hawley, they're the ones that broke that barrier. They might as well have been trying to kick in the door of the House floor, the People's House, the Capitol, because it's their voices, their words that broke the barriers of civility that's existed for over 200 years.
Tonight, I'm hoping he can help us understand how this new committee might help bring accountability to a few more of those treasonous, well, I won't use his language. Joining me now is Arizona Congressman Ruben Gallego. Congressman, thanks so much for coming back on the show. You were our guest on the night of January 6th. You called the riots as treasonous. You said people like Josh Hawley might as well have been trying to kick down the Capitol doors. Can this new special committee help hold those particular perpetrators, not just the people outside, the violent mob, but some of the politicians involved, hold them accountable too?
Well, I certainly think they can, because the most important thing is that we need to bring transparency and bring out, what really happened. We don't know fully what happened in the lead up to January 6th. We know a bunch of insurrectionist traitors, the losers of society, showed up on the House floor and tried to, and the Senate floor, and tried to stop democracy. But we also don't know who else was involved. These things just don't evolve on their own. If you look at history and coups and different attempts, there's always a real organization that happens. A lot of it happens for months, and we saw that already with Donald Trump, with his messaging about fake elections or fraudulent elections. And you also saw it with other politicians backing it up, as well as just media versus where there's private media, between Telegram or Facebook, or organizations like Fox News. So you have to really pull apart the full conspiracy and expose it, and hopefully with subpoena power we could really get to the core of it.
So you mentioned subpoena power, the power to get witnesses and documents. Who would you like to see subpoenaed, and how does your party avoid the hearings turning into, Benghazi-style, circus-style hearings?
Well, I think, the reason this is different from Benghazi is because at the end of the day, we know that there was a true crime that was committed. A lot of things went wrong with Benghazi, but there wasn't an intent. There was an intent to stop an election here. There was an intent to overthrow our democratic elected process. And we know that there's co-conspirators, that were all around the president. So I certainly think some of the president's advisors, formal advisors, informal advisors, should all be brought up and subpoenaed. We need to subpoena their phone records or emails to see who they were talking to on the day of and the weeks leading up to it. We need to get financial records because these people just didn't suddenly show up in Washington D.C. On their own dime. So we need to really dig down deep in this. But there is a lot of, I think, interconnections between the Proud Boys, the 3%ers, the Oath Keepers, and probably a lot of political activists that have some connections to the White House. And let's investigate it and really draw out and see what happened there.
So Republicans, of course, are worried about some of those connections coming out. They seem to have already written this off as partisan theater, conveniently. Only 2 House Republicans, Cheney and Kinzinger, voted for it today. Many of your colleagues on the other side continue to push conspiracy theories about the riots. I'm thinking of people like Paul Gosar and in the Senate, Ron Johnson. They have a willing audience on Fox, on Newsmax, on OANN. I do wonder, what will this committee achieve in terms of winning over the country? Sure, people who, are not hardcore conservatives, the 2/3 of the country who are not loyal Trump supporters will hear it out, maybe. But you're not going to get through to Republicans, to conservatives, to people who are just going to watch misinformation every night. That's just not going to happen, is it? Or am I wrong?
Look, I do think you're going to be able to really talk to some moderate conservatives, independents, and people that are just getting new to politics. The conspiracy theories, the tinfoil hat people, the people that are the QAnon subscribers, these are the same people that I'm sure were, chemtrail followers and had other conspiracy theories back in the day. You're not going to get them, but also they're not part of your governing majority. So our job really is to expose, and for those that we can convince that this is something that occurred, that was designed to overthrow our government, I think we do have an opportunity. But for the rest, we can't worry about them. They will end up eating themselves up alive. These types of things don't end well. They always end up with someone being broke. going to jail or even worse sometimes.
In terms of persuasion, I guess it is an opportunity, but I worry your party left a little late. We're 6 months on. Maybe if you'd started earlier, you might have got through to some of those Republicans who now believe that it was Antifa who attacked the Capitol. Or, you know, if you look at some of the polling on what Republicans believe about January 6th, it's horrific. We've covered it on this show. Let me ask you this last question, Congressman. Republicans Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney voted in favor of the committee. Have a listen to what Kinzinger had to say.
So I'll be voting for this today. It's not my favorite option, but the point is we can't keep pretending like January 6th didn't happen. If I'm asked to serve on it, I'm going to consider it. I haven't been asked. It's not necessarily anything I'd look forward to doing, but if I thought that, you know, my voice was needed to get to the bottom of it, it would be something I would be open to.
Congressman, there's no way that Kevin McCarthy is going to suggest Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger for any of his 5 spots. Should Nancy Pelosi give up one of hers for a Republican like Cheney or Kinzinger, in your view?
I certainly think she can think about it. I think it has to be a balance of experience on that committee, experiences in terms of, you know, dealing with misinformation, dealing with, you know, riots, dealing with police, dealing with Homeland Security. I think they could bring some valuable experience to it. But I don't think at the same time we should try to appoint Republicans just for the sake of saying that we're bipartisan. We had that opportunity. The Republicans dragged out the negotiations for so long that we are at this point. We should appoint the people that are going to help us get to the bottom, to get to the truth, and not really to do these types of symbolic gestures that really at the end of the day just does not make a difference.
Would you want to be on the committee yourself?
Of course I would. I don't think the Republicans would like me to be on that committee, but I certainly would, and I have a lot of the background in terms of dealing with riot control, misinformation, the things that actually led up to this. But of course, that's not in my control.
You being on the committee would allow you to go after those treasonous bleep, bleep, bleep. Congressman Ruben Gallego, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me on the show tonight. Hi, I'm Mehdi Hasan. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more of the Mehdi Hasan Show by clicking on any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thank you for watching.